Okay. God, it feels like it's been a while since I've done this.
Yeah, me too. Which is weird because we recorded the last episode 4 times.
I know. Exactly. You'd think we'd have got it by now. Anyway, welcome back to another episode of Felonious. I'm Nazia.
And I'm Emma. And today we are doing an episode on the journalist Kim Wall. I had a lot of interest in this case because I live in Sweden. Although this happened before I moved here, I was still visiting the country.
Yeah.
When it happened because my partner's mum lives here. So I found this case quite interesting. And it's about a woman. And I'm a woman. So I'm always interested in cases like that.
Yeah, and we're recording this on, is it International Women's Day today?
Oh, I think it is, We should know that as women.
I know, right? International Women's Day. Yeah, it's tomorrow. So yeah, we're recording on the eve of International Women's Day.
Yeah. So Kim Wall was a 30-year-old Swedish journalist who wrote about topics such as identity, gender, pop culture, social justice, and foreign policy for a number of news outlets, including Harper's, The Guardian, New York Times, Foreign Policy, Vice Magazine, Slate, South China Morning Post, The Atlantic, Roads and Kingdoms, and Time. She won an award for reporting on climate change and nuclear weapons testing in the Marshall Islands. She was living in Copenhagen with her boyfriend, and they were getting ready to move to Beijing. On August the 10th, 2017, the night she disappeared, the couple were having a going-away party. Kim left the party to conduct an interview for Wired magazine about an eccentric Danish inventor, Peter Madsen, who built his own submarine and had plans to launch himself into space. This was the last assignment Kim did before she was brutally murdered. In this episode, there are going to be mentions of murder, body mutilation, psychopaths, sexual crimes, and child abuse. And we researched this episode through watching documentaries such as Into the Deep by Emma Sullivan, which is on Netflix, Undercurrent, The Disappearance of Kim Wall, which is on HBO. We also read the book written by Kim Wall's parents, Ingrid and Joachim Wall, called A Silenced Voice, The Life of Journalist Kim Wall, which I found very emotional to read. And we also read numerous news articles.
Into the Deep, the Netflix documentary, Emma Sullivan, she was it all kind of unfolds, doesn't it?
Yeah, so we'll talk about it as the episode progresses.
Yeah.
But she started her film before
the murder.
Yeah. So she was interviewing him days before.
Yeah.
Actually, hours before.
Yeah.
As we'll discuss. So she had, an experience.
It could have been her, basically.
Yeah. That's what she basically says in the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very troubling.
Yeah, it's really, it's quite disturbing.
Yeah.
As we'll discuss. Yeah, let's crack on, shall we? So, on the 10th of August 2017, at around 7 p.m, journalist Kim Wall boarded an amateur-built submarine called the Nautilus, belonging to Danish entrepreneur Peter Madsen. The vessel was witnessed by several people at the entrance to Copenhagen harbour. Pictures show Kim waving from the top of the submarine with Madsen standing next to her. Nobody knew that this would be the last time they would see Kim Wall. At 10 p.m, Kim's partner, Ole, began to worry and wondered where Kim was. Kim said that the interview with Madsen would only take a couple of hours. Ole called Madsen's wife to see if she had heard from Madsen, or if she knew where they were. It's quite sad because they were having that going away party, and it shows her dedication to her job. And if this hadn't happened, this could have been a great article for her.
Oh, yeah. She already had a great...
resume?
Yeah. So, yeah, this would have... I mean, a lot of people knew about Madsen, but this would have been one of the highlights of her career, I think.
Yeah, and like this is what happens. And, it's just the fact that they were having a going away party. They were so close to starting their next chapter in their life.
Yeah, exactly. They were going to get married and settle down and...
Yeah.
Yeah, just carry on with life.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
On August the 11th, Ole contacted the police and the Coast Guard at 2:30 a.m. as the submarine had not returned to its dock, and an hour later, the police started their search and sent out an alert of a possible accident. Both helicopters and boats took part in the search. Lieutenant Commander Ditte Dierborg? Dierborg. Gosh. Anyway, of the Royal Danish Navy was called out to assist with the search. Dierborg took part in the HBO documentary called Undercurrent, The Disappearance of Kim Wall, and in it she said she met Peter Madsen in 2002 and asked him for the submarine drawings. Her expertise in building submarines told her that the sub looked too heavy for submerging operations and believed it to be very dangerous. She said that if the submarine submerged to 10 metres, he wouldn't be able to get out of the boat. She wasn't surprised when she heard that there was a possible accident, but she didn't know that at the time Kim Wall was on the sub. Kim Wall was interviewing Peter Madsen as he was building his own rocket to launch himself into space, and the Nautilus was his third self-built submarine. He had taken journalists on his submarine before, so his colleagues were not surprised that another journalist was on board. At 10:30 a.m, the submarine was found in Cougar Bay, and contact was established with Madsen over radio, and he said he was on his way back to the harbour with everyone safe on board. Sorry, it's just a bit weird that he says everyone safe on board when it was just him and...
Yeah, just two people, yeah.
Yeah. And then I'll go back to that in a minute.
Yeah.
Then at 11 a.m, the submarine sinks, and Madsen is rescued by a boat passing by. There were no signs of Kim Wall. He was brought to land where he was met by the press and the police. He was asked if he was okay, and he replied that he was sad about the submarine sinking, but he did not mention anything about Kim. As he was getting into a police car, he was questioned by the media about the journalist on board with him, and he said that he was the only one on the submarine. So why did he say that everyone was safe on board? Anyway. Madsen was asked by police where Kim Wall was. He said that she was fine and that he had dropped her off the night before, on the 10th of August, close to where she lived. At 1:30 p.m, the naval fleet started looking for the submarine, hoping to find it with Kim alive on board. They found the submarine and saw that the hatch was open. There were no survivors. At this point in time, people thought that something had happened to Kim after she was dropped ashore from Madsen's submarine. Kim's friends started to worry about her and knew something had happened. She had been to shady places before, like North Korea, so for her to go missing after interviewing an entrepreneur alarmed them. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Commander Ditte Dierborg knew that a submarine wouldn't just sink and believed Madsen could have saved it. He didn't close the hatch, he kept it open. She knew he must have done it deliberately, and it must have been to cover something up. She then called the police to tell them what she thought. Both Sweden and Denmark had jurisdiction to conduct an investigation. The Swedish police received a missing persons report for Kim, so they tried to locate her by triangulating her phone. A local bar owner had the area where Madsen said he dropped Kim off covered by CCTV, and the police could see by looking at the footage that Madsen was lying. On the evening of the 11th of August, the police announced that Madsen was a murder suspect. On the 12th of August, a preliminary court hearing was held and Madsen pled not guilty. The charge at this time was for negligence or causing death of another and not murder. Madsen's friends admitted that he was crazy but believed in no way that he was a killer. The charge of murder took everyone by surprise, even his biographer, who described him as nice and loving and who held core values. That's the other thing, he had a biography written about him. And he's interviewed in the HBO he's interviewed in the HBO documentary.
The biographer, yeah. It just shows how egotistical this man is to have like a biographer, when really he hasn't done too many amazing things. I mean, he's built a submarine, yeah.
Do you know what he reminds me of? if you ordered Elon Musk off Temu.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's if you got Elon Musk off Temu or Shein, like that's what you'd get. Not that Elon Musk is great. Elon Musk is a twat, but this is like a Temu version of Elon Musk.
Yeah, it is.
But like also, you know, we haven't gone straight that far into the story yet, but it just makes me think of how many, you know, men are celebrated, and, you know, we're going to find out later on the signs were there.
Yeah.
But because he, you know, it's like, for example, Russell Brand, the signs, they're out in the open with how they are, but they're so celebrated. And clearly he was, because the people that worked for him and this biographer, they had such high values of him.
Mm.
But then they think back and they realise, okay, it was there all along.
Yeah.
On the 13th of August, the naval fleet hired a big ship to tow the submarine out of the water. The submarine was 17.5 metres long. They managed to get the Nautilus on land, and the police and navy started their forensic investigations. Ditte Dierborg, along with the police, went inside the submarine and confirmed that there was nobody on board. She did notice the mess inside the boat and something that looked like a piece of flesh. She then realised that her trousers were wet at the bottom, which she recognised as blood. Kim's clothes were also on the boat, for example, her jacket, which had tickets in the pocket. Ditte then began to question why Kim would leave a lot of her things if she was dropped off ashore. The police held a press conference and stated that the submarine had been sunk intentionally, contradicting Madsen's claims that the vessel had sunk due to issues with the ballast tanks.
On the 17th of August, Kim Wall's family released a statement to the press in which they detailed their shock and confusion over what could have happened to Kim. They said that something could have happened in Copenhagen, just a stone's throw away from her childhood home, is something we never could have imagined. A few days later, the police called a press conference and detailed that Madsen had changed his story and said that Kim died on board the submarine after an accident. Madsen said that he was so depressed by the accident that he slept on the submarine for a few hours before burying Kim at sea. During the afternoon, a cyclist found a dismembered body part in the water on Amager Island. The police confirmed it was the torso of a woman, but not that it belonged to Kim Wall. Forensic examinations and DNA testing were conducted on the following day, and on the 24th of August, it was confirmed that the torso belonged to Kim. The torso had wounds that had been inflicted to prevent it from floating to the surface. Additionally, there was a strap with metal attached, which had been used to weigh down the body. Forensics showed that the arms, legs, and head were removed intentionally. At this point, Madsen was still denying allegations of murder. Shortly after Kim's torso was found, Madsen's biographer Thomas Ursing wrote to him in prison and asked why Madsen had done what he did. Ursing received a 10-page handwritten letter from Madsen, in which he says that there is an opportunity for a second biography that would reach a big international audience.
That is gross.
Yeah. Again, the ego.
Yeah, narcissist.
The filmmakers of the HBO documentary recorded interviews with Madsen from prison. He says, "You cannot see the crime without seeing what produced it. You need to understand things come with reasons. Imagine that I was once a little boy. What would you have to do to such a boy to make him commit a crime like the one I committed on August 10th, 2017? Peter Madsen was born in 1971 and grew up in a part of Denmark called West Sjælland. He was the child of Carl and Annie Madsen. His mother was 36 years younger than his father. His father was violent during Peter's childhood and would beat him and his siblings, and there was constant fighting between both of his parents. Carl Madsen had worked in Nazi Germany and so didn't have normal family morals. When Thomas Ursing asked Peter what it was like growing up with his father, Peter responded, How would it feel to be the son of a commandant in a concentration camp? At 6 years old, Peter's parents split up and he was forced to go with his father and could no longer see his mother again. Peter says about this time, "I didn't really want to live with my mother. She was stupid as a cat. She didn't know anything. I had no reason to stay there." The hatred towards his mother is apparent here, and from this experience, it is possible that a hatred of women in general developed. Madsen developed an interest in space and rockets at an early age. He had ambitions of becoming an engineer, but he never completed his studies. He took courses in welding, and in 1986, at the age of 15, he launched his first homemade rocket. His interests in space led to him building submarines, and he built his first one in 2002, and in 2008, Nautilus was built. It was the world's largest homemade submarine and made Madsen into a local celebrity. After this, Madsen became involved in Copenhagen Suborbitals, a group of engineers who had a goal of sending an amateur astronaut into space and back. 1,000 people invested in the project financially, but in 2014, Madsen left the company after a difference of opinion with Christian von Bengtsen, the co-founder of the company. So Madsen decided to set up his own space lab 85 metres away from Copenhagen Suborbitals, and he called it RML, Rocket Madsen Space Lab. He planned a rocket launch to take place on the 26th and 27th of August 2017 and planned to take the Nautilus along with his colleagues to the island of Bornholm on the 11th of August, but on the 10th of August, he cancelled the trip.
In the Netflix documentary, that's part of what, what's her name? Is it Emma?
Yeah, Emma Sullivan.
That's part of what she was originally documenting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like the whole rivalry between him and Copenhagen Suborbitals.
Suborbitals.
Sorry.
It's a bit of a tongue twister.
I know. But yeah, and like it's quite comical that putting the murder aside and all the sinister stuff, that's quite comical what's happening between these two companies.
Yeah, it's petty.
Yeah.
It's petty on Madsen's part.
Yeah, like he literally just sets up shop right next door.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like having this mini dick war with their spaceships.
Yeah, I'll go through it at the end, but he's just so in love with himself.
Yeah, exactly.
Madsen's colleague, Christopher Mayer, said that what Madsen told the police and what he heard through the media was just lies. He didn't understand why Madsen had done what he did, a person who he trusted. He said that he had Madsen at his house on Saturday for a birthday, and then he killed someone on the Thursday. Sarah, a volunteer at RML, said she didn't want to see Madsen as an evil person, but what he did to Kimwall's body was calculated. She then wondered if there were signs of this about to happen that she missed. Madsen sent Sarah a text before Kimwall's murder, in which she saw it as a bit of fun, but the message is difficult not to misunderstand. She sent him messages saying, "Can't you send me little death threats? Then maybe I can get this work done faster." She sent it because she couldn't get on with her work. Madsen then replied, "You must be bound in Nautilus. I bind you to pierce you with a skewer. Then the pocket knife comes forward. I'm looking at your throat. Where is the pulse? I have a murder plan ready, which is a great pleasure."
Yeah, see, that is so creepy. Like if I were in her, she's the one that has her face altered by deepfake, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry, that's speculoos using the litter tray. Can you not take a shit in silence, please?
It's what she thinks of Madsen. Pile of shit.
I shit on his name.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, she had her face AI.
Is it deepfake?
Yeah, they used AI to put a different face on her.
Yeah,
basically.
to hide her real identity.
Yeah, and they didn't, I don't know if they changed her name. I can't remember. But at first when she got the messages, she just took it as like, oh, that's just Madsen.
But yeah, like what I wanted to say was, so obviously she sent that message, like, can you send me little death threats? Now, if I was in her position, the appropriate answer I would expect to receive is, if you don't do this, I'm gonna like kill you in your sleep kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
But what he sends, it's like he's really thought about it.
It's like a scripted reply.
And it's borderline kink.
Yeah, he's obviously said this, like something similar before, or had thoughts similar.
He's probably gone on some chat rooms to have that, to have like text sex, or whatever you call it. And he's like, I don't know, I'm
sexting.
So yeah, that's it. Text sex. Sexting, that's the word I'm looking for. But he's obviously, you know, part of me wonders, and I'm probably jumping the gun quite a bit here, but part of me wonders if he had sort of groomed her to the point where she found that response acceptable.
Yeah, I think it was part of like workplace banter.
Yeah.
And she didn't really see at the time how serious he was.
It's so creepy.
Yeah.
Unless you're into that sort of thing. Obviously, like, people have the kink and they, you know, if you consensually role play that sort of stuff. But still, it's just very cringe. And he was married. He says he was in an open relationship.
Was he married at this? Oh, yeah, he was, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, he was married.
I mean, he's had so many relationships, I can't keep up.
Yeah. Yeah, as we'll find out. And he says that they were in an open relationship. So, I don't know. It's just cringe. And she seemed quite a bit younger than him as well.
Oh, yeah, she was a lot younger.
Yeah. So, again, cringe.
Yeah, she's just naive, I think.
Yeah, and I guess when you're in the workplace and maybe in that environment, it's quite male-dominated as well.
Yeah, and he was the boss. So...
And yeah, and everyone seemed to look up to him and have hold him to high values. On the 5th of September, the second court hearing took place with a massive media presence. Madsen gave his explanation for the accident. He said a hatch on the submarine hit Kim Wall on the head and she died instantly. He said it was so horrific and that he started to panic, so decided to give her a funeral at sea. At no point did he mention dismembering Kim's body. After this, Madsen was suspected of murder or manslaughter and desecration of a grave. He refused to hand over his computer as he claimed it had confidential documents on it to do with his rocket business. He also refused a forensic psychiatric assessment. The judge ruled against him, and so he was made to hand over his devices and take part in the assessment. Police investigators started looking for the rest of Kim's body on Cougar Bay, an area the size of the Isle of Man, 500 square kilometres or 190 square miles. A month had gone by and the divers had not found any more body parts. The police looking at Madsen's computer found material like videos of women being tortured and murdered. Madsen responded that he wasn't the only one with access to the computer and tried to place the blame on an intern that worked at his space lab, RML. A video made in 2015 was found on the hard drive in which Madsen had set up the camera pointing towards a bed in what looks like a hotel room. He talks to himself and questions what would happen if a woman had noticed the camera. Creep.
Yeah, that's normal.
On the 6th of October, an oceanographer, Torben Vang, was brought in as an expert on Danish currents and how things are transported in water. 50 divers helped in the search, covering an area of 200 acres. Torben recommended they look in a certain area, and the divers found a plastic bag. On October the 8th, they found Kim's head, and there was no evidence to suggest that she had been hit on the head. There were no fractures. This proved that Madsen was lying, yet again. Over the next few days, Madsen's DNA was used to see if he was involved in any unsolved cases in the Nordic nations, but no matches were made. Madsen still denied murdering Kim and dismembering her body, and he no longer wanted to cooperate with the police. On the 12th of October, a saw was found at Koga Bay along the route the submarine took. On the 30th of October, Peter Madsen confessed during a hearing to dismembering Kim's body and that he threw her body parts into the bay. He still maintained it was an accident and was now claiming that Kim had died from carbon monoxide poisoning inside the submarine while he was on top. He said that the hatch wouldn't open, and because the engines were still running, the carbon monoxide was getting into the submarine, and there was no way to get out. He said that she had died after 10 minutes of being exposed to this gas. Lieutenant Commander Ditte Dierborg of the Royal Danish Navy said that the pressure inside the submarine wouldn't have allowed for Kim to die by carbon monoxide poisoning. On the 26th of November, an arm was found in Koga Bay, which had been weighted down with a metal pipe. DNA testing showed that it was Kim's left arm. Her right arm was found in the same area on November the 29th. On January 16, 2018, Madsen was charged with murder, sexual crimes, desecration of a grave, and crimes against maritime law.
That must have been so painful for her parents, like those few days where like bits of her body was found.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, like, they have to wait, A, for this investigation, and A, for her full body to be retrieved before they can put her to rest.
Yeah, and find out the truth.
Yeah, exactly. I can't even imagine.
No. On the 8th of March 2018, the trial started in the City Court in Copenhagen. The court heard how Madsen had rationally and intentionally planned the murder of Kim Wall. In Denmark, it is legal to lie in court. A story can be changed all of the time, and Madsen changed his story 3 times. First, he said he dropped her off safely on shore. Then he said Kim died accidentally when the submarine hatch fell on her head. And then he said that she died due to carbon monoxide poisoning. When asked why he changed his account so many times, he replied that he was trying to protect Kim Wall's parents from the horrendous truth. During the trial, Madsen then showed how sorry he felt for himself by describing how he couldn't go home to his cats. He showed that he thought he would get away with what he had done. He was asked by the prosecutor why he cut up Kim Wall's body, and Madsen replied, "Well, I had a big problem. What do you do with a big problem? You cut it up into small pieces."
Don't bring your cats into this, you arsehole.
Yeah, dickhead. Leave the cats alone. Hope the cats are in a better place now.
Yeah, exactly.
On March the 23rd, around 40 witnesses testified in court, and a number of them were women. One of the witnesses came forward after hearing about the case, as she felt she had information that would be valuable to the prosecution. She said during the HBO documentary, Undercurrent: The Disappearance of Kim Wall, that Madsen was smiling at her in court, which she found sickening. She met Madsen at a fancy dress party 10 years prior. Madsen dressed as an astronaut and gloated about building his own rocket. The woman thought he was pathetic, but felt sorry for him and was intrigued by his eccentricity. They remained friends after the party, and she felt that Madsen wanted more out of the friendship, which she didn't want at the time. Madsen was married, but according to him it was an open marriage. Madsen would frequent sex parties. His wife divorced him and was excused from testifying at court. Through the trial, text messages from Madsen's phone were shown. One read, "I'm just a perverted poly with a dream of a taboo-free place where all adults in their right mind can do to each other whatever they want." The women who testified in court never experienced violence with Madsen. One of his former girlfriends said in a separate TV interview that Madsen was a really, really great person. A lot of sensational journalism pointed to Kim Wall being at fault due to what she was wearing. One Twitter post said, "Why wasn't she wearing long pants? A dress seems strange. Tragedy." A lot of very sexist remarks and headlines like this were published around the time of the trial.
I mean, firstly, she was leaving her party.
Yeah, her going away party.
She can wear whatever the fuck she wants.
Yeah. What is it? Fucking 1852 or something?
Yeah, like, yeah. And when people make these comments, they really don't give a shit about the victim. They don't care about how that makes the families feel. It's really infuriating, like that level of victim blaming.
Yeah. What's the betting it was a man that...
Yeah, exactly.
Not that I'm sexist, but, you know. Other messages of Madsen's contain notions of sexual violence, including, I'll tie you up and pierce you with a skewer. Then a hobby knife comes out, and I look at your throat. Where is the artery? Sound familiar? And, since I have gone criminal, I might as well kidnap you as well as your husband and children. The woman who received these messages found them to be weird and scary. She could have done, but I don't understand why she didn't take that to the police, because that's threatening.
Depends on the context. If they were flirting and he just took it in a weird direction, and I don't know. I think
she said that she found them to be weird and scary.
Yeah, but I guess it's not enough.
I understand what you're saying, but
yeah, it's a very grey area. Like, I think sometimes people say inappropriate things and you can get weirded out by them, but not perceive them as entirely harmful, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then in hindsight, you realise, okay, that explains a lot.
Quite often too late. Videos from Madsen's computer were shown in court. These were snuff films, footage of real murders taking place, and usually against women. Evidence showed that Madsen watched one of these films 24 hours before he met Kim Wall. Madsen had tried to encourage a few women to go on the submarine with him before he met Kim Wall.
On the 23rd of April, a psychiatric evaluation of Madsen was presented to the court, which found that he had narcissistic and psychopathic tendencies, a severe lack of empathy, remorse, and sense of guilt. Madsen's biographer, Thomas Ursing, believed that Madsen could have committed murder before, and that a number of unsolved cases should be looked at. The Swedish Deputy Chief of Police also believed that the murder of Kim Wall was not the first crime Madsen had committed. The police tested Madsen's DNA against a database of cases in Sweden and Denmark, but there were no links found. It is also revealed that Madsen had a blog called Heaven and Hell a few years before killing Kim Wall. This was an important piece of evidence in the court case. It is a complete copy of Dante's The Divine Comedy, where the characters cross a river called Styx, which surrounds hell. In Madsen's letters to his biographer, he refers to the river he killed Kim Wall in as the River Styx. The blog is basically a description of Madsen's boredom with everyday nice things, so heaven, and it follows his journey into depravity and exploring the darker sides of society, hell. On the blog, he discusses torturing people and different kinds of sex, and it acts as a window into his fantasies. The trial lasted 7 weeks. On the 25th of April, the verdict was finally given and Madsen received a life prison sentence. He was found guilty of premeditated murder. In Denmark, a life sentence is a rare sentence for a criminal with only one known victim and without a prior criminal record. After serving 12 years, Madsen can apply for a pardon. The average life sentence in Denmark is 16 years. Madsen appealed the sentence immediately, but only the penalty and not the charges. On the 26th of September, the High Court announced that Madsen's appeal was unsuccessful.
30 months into his sentence, on October the 20th, 2020, Madsen escaped prison. He had been able to build a weapon which he used to threaten a guard at the prison. The prison guard let Madsen run, and he was chased by other guards. His freedom from prison didn't last long, though. The police tracked him down and surrounded him with sharpshooters and police dogs. He threatened that he had a bomb strapped to himself. In 2021, he was given a further sentence of 19 months for escaping. In 2022, a new Danish law was introduced which prohibits those with life sentences from receiving or making phone calls and visitation with people they did not know before incarceration. In 2023, he lost a lawsuit against the Danish state introducing this law. Madsen had many female visitors before the law changed, and in 2017, He received letters and phone calls from a 17-year-old who had fallen in love with him while he was in detention. Madsen got married in prison in 2019 to a Russian artist living in Finland, but that ended in divorce in 2022. There was an article on the Irish news site called RTE, which said that in June that Madsen was found guilty of smuggling out 4 letters to 2 women.
Oh my God.
His lawyer, who is Stadardfeld Jensen, said it was a coincidence that those who wanted contact with him were women, and that most of the exchanges were about rockets. It's probably a rocket in his pocket, but...
Yeah, not an innuendo, I imagine. Not some coded language.
Yeah. This was published in November 2023, so it wasn't this year, sorry.
Okay. So it's in June 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not too long ago. But, sorry, I'm just reading the quote. It is not a human right to make new friends or have dates when you're in prison for violent and bestial crimes. I mean, going back to the Russian Mauritian artist living in Finland, I read an article where she was saying that she got a lot of hostile messages after she married him. And she was saying, I'm just quoting very badly, but she said something like, he's serving his crime, but he's a loving man. And she said something about celebrating the fact that she wasn't in a normal marriage. It just sounded like bullshit.
It says something about you when you're bragging about that.
Yeah, and she said he was one of 2 victims in that crime. No, he was not.
No, he was quite clearly the perpetrator.
Yeah.
As all the evidence points to.
And even if Kim was his first victim, if he was not caught, if he was better at committing his crime, he could have easily gone on to commit more. And the fact that he was downloading snuff movies, he is complicit in those crimes as well because he is purchasing those. It's like if someone looks at child pornography, are they a victim? No. He might have been a victim as a child, but that's not an excuse. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just bullshit.
And the fact that he lied every time, not at any point did he tell the truth.
Yeah, exactly.
About what happened.
Yeah.
And the documentary Into the Deep, I'm not sure if we should read this or not, but Madsen said this 10 months before he murdered Kim Wall. And it just shows how calculated a person he is and not just the outlandish entrepreneur that he wanted to present himself as. So he says, "You're aware of the fact, maybe, that psychopaths exist amongst us. Human predators that walk around and grab people and use them, throw them out, maybe stalk them afterwards, and so on. And psychopathic people are often very charismatic. They are excellent speakers, they're convincing. They are having illusions of self-grandeur and have no regard for anyone else. And he will try really to punish those people who have been under his spell. He will try to punish them afterwards by stalking them, by talking badly about them, all these things. There is the possibility that you've simply come upon a human predator. And I wouldn't know, because does the psychopath know that he's a psychopath? I'm not sure." When I heard that, I just thought, oh my God.
Well, it's a lot of the serial killers that you hear about, they just blend into society.
Yeah, Ted.
Yeah, Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah.
People like that. And there's many more. And, when people like his biographer and the people that worked for him were like, oh, he's such a loving guy and blah, blah, blah. But it's well, that's the whole point, isn't it? They lead a double life, essentially.
Yeah.
And they do fool people.
But Emma Sullivan, who made this documentary and interviewed him and filmed him saying this, she must have thought that was weird at the time.
Yeah.
It's just not something a normal person says.
No. But you don't go around thinking everyone that you meet is capable of killing someone.
I do, but that's just me, I guess.
I know.
I don't trust anyone.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, especially men. Like, and I don't want to like kink shame. Obviously, you know, people are into certain things, and he might have come across as being that person, but he obviously, it's like Army Hammer. Don't sue me. Allegedly.
In our opinion.
Yeah, like. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't want to say too much because I don't want to get us into trouble.
Yeah, no lawsuits, please.
Yeah, please. I'm too poor for that.
We have no money. Yeah. Unless you buy us coffees.
Yeah, exactly.
Madsen's submarine, the Nautilus, was destroyed under the supervision of the Copenhagen Police Department. I don't know why they put that bit in there, to be honest.
Well, just in case anyone wonders what happened to the submarine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a tourist attraction, thank God.
No, thank God.
In October 2017, Kim's friends and family held a vigil at Columbia Journalism School to celebrate her life and work. Her parents praised their daughter's short career as a journalist and said, "Humanity needs more courageous women like Kim, women who want and dare to tell, give the voices to the weak ones, and make this planet a better place to be." Her brother Tom Wall said, "She will never write a single word ever again, but others might, and that's exactly how we should remember and honour her, by remembering the words that she wrote, what she stood for, and what she believed in. So let's arm ourselves with our swords and make her proud." Kim Wall's family and friends set up a memorial fund which helps support female journalists. It's www.rememberingkimwall.com. In 2020, Ingrid and Joachim Wall wrote a book about Kim, focusing on her journalism and remembering her not as a crime victim, but as the intelligent and wonderful woman she was. I think it's a bit a miss of... I know that she was a freelance journalist. You know, the people that encourage these journalists to do these kinds of stories where they go out on their own, they should be helped in doing like background checks on these people.
I guess with someone like Peter Madsen, though, you couldn't have really... There's only so much you can do if you didn't have any prior convictions.
Yeah, but I mean, someone might have found his blog.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, look, I think it was in the Netflix documentary, like one of the guys that worked for him, if I remember correctly, he actually showed him some of the videos, like as if it was banter. And he just thought, oh, Peter's just into weird stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, because he hadn't maybe committed any crimes or knowingly, I don't know. But I wonder now, as a female journalist, take more precautions now. They shouldn't have to, but like, you know, going into a submarine on your own with no one else there.
Yeah, at least take someone else with you.
Yeah. But the fact that she'd been to more dangerous places.
Yeah.
And come out unharmed, you know, it's got to be really hard. And she wasn't even that far from her boyfriend, you know.
No.
And like, I can't even imagine how he must have felt. It's just unimaginable. And it's just such an awful, awful way to go.
I got quite upset reading her parents' book because, you know, they do like flashbacks to, you know, Kim growing up and speaking her own mind and being this independent, hardworking woman.
Yeah.
It's just really, really sad that her fate ended up being on this boat with this man who had no respect for women at all.
Yeah.
And just decided to end her life for his own gratification.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that he's getting female admirers and has been married, like...
Yeah, it's sickening.
There's no real justice. I mean, he's in prison, yeah.
And the amount of time he got on his sentence is just... I know it's like Danish law and it's different, but I just think it's disgusting.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway.
Yeah, that was that one.
Yeah, thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you. Bit of a shorter one, but...
Yeah, it's a short one. I found the HBO documentary to be more... that one got to me more emotionally than the Netflix one.
Yeah, I mean, the HBO looks into more of the evidence and more into his evilness, I guess.
Yeah.
But the Netflix one is sort of... I mean, it all starts prior to the murder, so...
Yeah, I think that one is just a bit disturbing, knowing that.
Yeah. I think she did do a good job of making that documentary and how she spun it round to make him look like the monster that he is.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so again, thank you for listening. What are we doing for our next episode? Can't remember.
Is it the Beaumont children?
Are we? Yes, the Beaumont children. That's going to be another short one, but quite a perplexing and horrible case. And that's in Australia. Aussie, yeah. If you haven't already, you can check out our Patreon. We have monthly episodes looking at current news, and we have some extra episodes. And it's only €1 a month.
Yeah.
If you can part with that.
It's not even £1, is it? Or is it?
Don't know what the conversion rate is.
Well, if you're listening to this, we're in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
The pound might not exist, or the euro might not exist. Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah. It's not going to be Bitcoin.
No.
But yeah, sorry. You were going to say?
You can find the link to our Patreon on the website. There's a link at the very top of the page. And we'll leave it in the show notes section on this episode as well. And you can also buy us a coffee if you would like to. We would be very grateful. And you can find the link to that on our website, and we'll also put it on the show notes.
Yeah, and let us know what you think of this episode on our social medias. So on Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah.
I think you can even comment on Spotify.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can comment and you want to comment, please do.
Yeah, we love feedback.
Yeah. So until next time, see ya.
See you later.
Thank you for listening to the show. We hope you enjoyed this episode. You can find more information about the show on our website at feloniouspod.com or on our Instagram at felonious.pod.
Links to our show notes can be found in the episode description, as well as through our website and social media. You can visit our Contact Us page and tell us what you think about the show and if there are any cases you would like us to cover. We hope you join us for the next episode. Goodbye.
Bye!